For centuries, the Predators ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. Their empire spanned entire star systems, each conquest a seamless victory. They were masters of war, fear incarnate, feared by all who encountered them. Their methods were ruthless, cold, calculated. Planets that dared resist were left in ruins, their people enslaved or annihilated. The Galactic Predators thrived on dominance, using advanced technologies to conquer and control. Every world they touched was a reminder of their unchallenged power. They were relentless. Species after species fell under their grasp, each one weaker, each one submitting faster than the last. Even those who attempted to fight quickly learned that resistance was futile. Entire civilizations crumbled in their wake, cities reduced to ash, and governments torn apart like paper. The Predators took what they wanted: resources, slaves, and territories, leaving nothing but despair behind. Among the subjugated worlds, fear spread like wildfire. Tales of their conquests passed from one world to another, and species that had never seen these predators trembled at the thought of their arrival. Resistance movements were rare, quickly crushed by the overwhelming force the predators wielded. Every time they engaged in battle, they knew the outcome before it even began. Victory was their birthright, and the galaxy was theirs to claim. At the center of this ruthless empire sat their leader, a being whose very presence commanded terror. Not a single decision was made without their approval, and their control over the galaxy was absolute. The Predators had no equal, no competitor capable of challenging their reign. Their arrogance grew with each victory, their sense of invincibility solidified. The galaxy was their playground, and every species within it knew to stay out of their way or face extinction. For all their technological superiority and sheer military might, the Predators never questioned their position at the top. Why would they? For as long as they had existed, there had been no real threat, no species capable of standing against them. They had become complacent, resting on the laurels of their conquests, confident that no species could rise to challenge their dominance. No one had ever come close to threatening them, and so they saw no need to worry. It was during the aftermath of one of their latest conquests that they first heard of humans. The information came as an afterthought, a whisper amidst the chaos of another world they had just crushed. A minor footnote in their records. The humans were a distant, primitive species far from the central systems of the galaxy. A backwater planet, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. They were technologically inferior, barely capable of space travel. The Predators barely registered them as a threat. A few of the council members raised the issue, suggesting that perhaps the humans should be dealt with sooner rather than later. But the idea was quickly dismissed. Why waste resources on a species that would fall as easily as all the others? The Predators scoffed at the very idea of humans posing any kind of resistance. They had crushed empires far more advanced, far more capable, than this tiny species from a backwater world. Still, for the sake of thoroughness, a decision was made. They would send a small fleet to Earth, nothing more than a routine operation. It would be a quick victory, a minor effort on their part. The fleet was sent with little fanfare, no grand announcements or preparations. The mission was beneath them, barely worth their attention. Their ships would arrive, humanity would fall, and the Predators would continue their conquest, as they always had. But as the fleet made its way toward Earth, a sense of anticipation lingered in the air. There was something different about this time. The Predators, though dismissive, couldn't shake a slight curiosity. They had been so dominant for so long that the idea of anything unexpected had become foreign to them. Still, they expected the same result. Humanity, like all the others before them, would submit, and the Predators would add another notch to their long list of victories. Yet, even in their arrogance, they couldn't foresee the coming storm. As the Predator fleet approached the solar system, they viewed Earth with disinterest. Their sensors registered it as a planet teeming with life, but to them, it was just another primitive world waiting to be conquered. From their perspective, humanity was no different from the countless other species they had crushed. Their ships glided silently through the vastness of space, cloaked by advanced technologies, expecting no resistance as they neared the unsuspecting target. Earth, though brimming with activity, appeared insignificant. From space, the humans seemed unaware of the approaching armada. The predators were certain that their arrival would be met with panic and swift surrender. They scanned the planet's atmosphere, detecting basic defense systems and low-level technologies, laughable compared to their own capabilities. This was going to be easy. Another planet added to their empire with little effort. As they breached Earth's orbit, the predators initiated their standard protocol. Communication was established with human military outposts. The message was clear: submit, or face destruction. They waited for the inevitable pleas for mercy. Yet what followed wasn't the panicked response they had anticipated. Instead, Earth's reply was calm, calculated, and direct. The human voice that responded wasn't trembling with fear, as the predators had come to expect from every species they encountered. It wasn't a voice pleading for life or negotiating terms of surrender. Instead, it was firm, almost unbothered by the threat of annihilation. "We do not negotiate under threat. You will find resistance here," the voice said. The predators, for the first time in their history, were momentarily caught off guard. Confusion rippled through the fleet's command center. Why weren't the humans afraid? It made no sense to them. Surely, this species understood the magnitude of the force they were up against. No one in the galaxy dared challenge the predators. This kind of defiance was unheard of. Irritated, the fleet commander ordered the first wave of attacks. Earth would be reminded of their place soon enough. The first strike came fast and hard. Predator ships descended, targeting key military installations. But instead of an immediate collapse, something unexpected happened. Earth's defense systems, primitive by galactic standards, adapted quickly. Instead of being overwhelmed, the humans coordinated their response with surprising efficiency. Small, mobile units evaded the predator assaults, countering with precision strikes of their own. This was not the disorganized, fearful resistance the predators had expected. Human forces, though technologically inferior, moved with a strategy that baffled their attackers. Guerrilla tactics, jamming systems, and swift counterattacks threw the predator fleet into disarray. The humans knew how to fight on their own terms, exploiting weaknesses the predators didn't even know they had. What began as a minor skirmish quickly escalated into a chaotic engagement. Predator ships, which had never encountered significant resistance before, were now being pushed back in certain areas. It was unthinkable. These were supposed to be simple, one-sided battles, yet the humans were forcing the predators to adjust their tactics, something they hadn't needed to do in centuries. Frustration grew within the predator ranks. Reports of human tactics, highly coordinated, adaptive, and unpredictable, continued to flood in. Every time the predators attempted a full-scale assault, human forces evaded them with unconventional maneuvers. Humans were using every advantage, from their planet's terrain to innovative electronic warfare, confusing predator systems and nullifying their superior firepower. The first small victory for humanity came sooner than the predators thought possible. A handful of predator ships were downed in a coordinated strike near one of Earth's military bases. It was a minor setback by galactic standards, but the psychological impact on the predator fleet was significant. No one had done this before. No one had made them lose ships in what should have been a routine invasion. The predators, though still far more powerful, found themselves in a position they hadn't been in for a long time. They were forced to regroup, to rethink their approach. Earth was not going to be an easy victory. Worse, there was a growing sense among the predator commanders that they had grossly underestimated the humans. This wasn't supposed to happen. Each passing day saw more resistance from the humans. Their communications were intercepted, but instead of fear, the predator analysts found something else: determination. The humans were coordinating globally, uniting under a single purpose: survival. They weren't just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for each other, something the predators hadn't anticipated. The situation became more dire for the invaders as human scientists began to analyze their technology. In an astonishingly short period, humans had figured out ways to disrupt key predator systems. What the predators had assumed were failsafes turned out to be exploitable weaknesses. Humans weren't just fighting defensively anymore, they were learning, adapting, and counterattacking in ways that defied the predators' expectations. As the small-scale skirmishes continued, the predators started losing more ground than they gained. For every human installation they managed to destroy, they lost valuable resources, ships, and soldiers in return. The cost of the invasion was beginning to escalate beyond what they had ever anticipated. Still, they refused to admit that they had underestimated humanity. The very idea that these primitive creatures could challenge them was inconceivable. Yet the signs were there. The humans, with their comparatively outdated technology, were winning small but critical victories. The Predator fleet, for the first time, was being forced to consider a different approach. The confusion within the Predator ranks deepened. How could a species they had dismissed so easily be causing them this much trouble? Every battle, every encounter with human forces, was met with more surprises. The Predator's superior technology was being countered with tactics that simply didn't fit their expectations. It was clear that humanity was far more resilient, far more adaptive than the Predators had imagined. And as the first wave of the invasion faltered, a chilling realization began to creep into the minds of the Predator commanders. Earth was not going to fall as easily as they had thought. Humanity was more than just another species to conquer. They were a threat the Predators had never seen coming. Humanity's response to the invasion went far beyond simple survival. Leaders across the globe, from every culture, every nation, quickly realized that this was not a threat any one faction could face alone. For perhaps the first time in human history, the world united against a common enemy. Scientists, military strategists, engineers, and even hackers collaborated on an unprecedented scale, pooling their knowledge and resources. There was no time for division or hesitation. They had to act as one or face extinction. Teams of researchers immediately got to work, dissecting every piece of Predator technology they could get their hands on. The first breakthrough came when a small group of engineers managed to reverse engineer parts of the Predator's cloaking and communication systems. What had seemed impenetrable was now a system with flaws. These weaknesses, though small, were all humanity needed. By exploiting gaps in the Predator technology, they disrupted communications, rendering several of their ships vulnerable to coordinated strikes. The Predators, still convinced of their superiority, had no idea how quickly humans could adapt. They hadn't anticipated the sheer ingenuity that humans possessed. Humans didn't just fight, they analyzed, strategized, and exploited every advantage. Even as Predator ships rained destruction from above, human scientists were developing countermeasures, turning the tide of the conflict bit by bit. It wasn't just technology that humanity used to its advantage. Their understanding of psychology and warfare far outstripped what the Predators had expected. Humans began deploying decoys and using misinformation to mislead Predator forces. They hacked into Predator communication systems, feeding them false intel, causing confusion among the invaders. This wasn't brute force. This was strategic and surgical, hitting the Predators where it hurt most. Predator commanders, who had relied on their overwhelming firepower and technological dominance, found themselves outmaneuvered. They had never faced a species that fought with such creativity. Guerrilla warfare in the dense urban sprawls, rapid strikes in terrain unfamiliar to the Predators, and traps that preyed on the invaders' assumptions were wearing down their forces. Humans weren't just fighting defensively, they were learning, evolving, and setting traps at every turn. The Predators' own arrogance had become their undoing. In one critical battle, a human fleet, led by a coalition of former rivals, managed to lure several Predator ships into a trap. By masking their true numbers and feeding false data through the hacked Predator systems, they created an illusion of weakness. The Predators took the bait, only to find themselves surrounded by human forces who had reverse-engineered enough of their technology to disable key systems. It was a decisive victory, one that shocked the Predators to their core. For the first time, the Predators felt something they hadn't in millennia: fear. The realization that they had underestimated these primitive humans was undeniable. Their losses were mounting, and what was meant to be a swift conquest had turned into a drawn-out war. Worse, the humans were getting better with every battle, learning faster than the Predators could adapt. The Predators, who had relied on overwhelming force for so long, were now on the defensive. Humanity didn't stop there. As the victory spread across Earth's networks, the human leaders knew they had to send a message, not just to the predators, but to the galaxy. Using the same communication systems they had hacked, humanity broadcasted a message to the wider galaxy. It wasn't a message of defiance or vengeance, but one of unity and resilience. They declared that Earth would not fall, and that humanity was prepared to stand against any force that threatened its existence. The broadcast reached far beyond Earth, and for the first time, species across the galaxy saw that the predators were not invincible. The impact of the message rippled outward, reaching species that had long been subjugated under the predator's rule. Those who had lived in fear began to hope. If humans, with their limited technology and isolated position, could fight back, what could others achieve if they united? The galaxy, once paralyzed by the terror of the predators, now saw a new possibility: resistance. The predators, sensing the shift in the galactic balance, realized that they were no longer facing a weak, divided species. They were facing something far more dangerous, a species that could inspire others. The fear they had used to dominate the galaxy was now turning against them. The predators had never planned for this, never thought they would face a threat not only on the battlefield but also in the hearts and minds of the galaxy's inhabitants. As human forces pushed back against the invaders, the galaxy watched closely. The predators, once thought unbeatable, were being challenged in a way no one had ever dared. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth, they were showing the galaxy what could be done with unity, ingenuity, and the will to survive. This was no longer just about Earth, it was about the entire galactic order. For the predators, this was an existential crisis. They had underestimated humans at every turn, and now, the consequences were unraveling their grip on power. It wasn't just about losing battles. It was about losing control of the narrative, of the fear that had kept the galaxy in line for so long. Humans had broken the cycle of domination with sheer will and adaptability, and now, the predators were the ones facing an uncertain future. This was the moment where the balance of power shifted. Humanity, the species once dismissed as insignificant, had proven themselves not only a force to be reckoned with but a beacon of hope for the galaxy. The predators, for the first time in their history, had encountered something they could not simply destroy. The tides had turned, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The predators, now desperate and humiliated by their unexpected losses, rallied for one final, all-out assault on Earth. Every available ship in their vast armada was mobilized, forming the largest force they had ever assembled. This wasn't just an invasion. It was their last stand to restore the fear that had once cemented their dominance across the galaxy. Failure wasn't an option. They needed to crush the humans decisively, or risk losing their grip on the entire galaxy. As their ships sped toward Earth, they fully expected their overwhelming numbers to be enough. The humans had fought well, but this would be the end. The skies over Earth darkened as the Predator fleet descended, their massive ships blocking out the stars. They had come prepared, ready to deliver a final, crushing blow. Every system on Earth was at full alert. This wasn't just another skirmish. This was humanity's moment of truth. The odds were staggering. It seemed impossible that they could hold off such a massive force. The predators believed they would finally break the humans, forcing them into submission once and for all. But humanity had learned, evolved, and adapted. This time, they weren't just reacting to the threat. They had a plan, one that would turn the tide in their favor, once and for all. While the predators relied on brute force, humanity relied on its greatest strength, ingenuity. Across the planet, human forces coordinated with unprecedented precision. Military leaders, scientists, engineers, and civilians all played their part. There was no division, no hesitation. Earth had become a single, united force, and this was their moment to prove it. The predators initiated their assault, unleashing waves of destruction aimed at critical infrastructure. But they soon found that the humans were ready. They had prepared countermeasures, anticipating the predators' tactics with precision. Advanced defense systems, developed by reverse engineering captured predator tech, intercepted attacks, neutralizing key strikes before they could do significant damage. What the predators had planned as a quick and overwhelming victory began to unravel before their eyes. At the heart of humanity's defense was not just superior strategy, but innovation. While the predators relied on their old methods, humanity had developed entirely new approaches to warfare. Using a combination of advanced AI, predictive algorithms, and even repurposed predator technology, the humans created a dynamic, constantly evolving battlefield. The predators found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Their ships, once seen as indestructible, were now vulnerable. Coordinated human attacks targeted their weaknesses, exploiting vulnerabilities that had been uncovered during earlier battles. As the battle raged on, it became clear that brute force alone wasn't enough. The predator commanders, who had relied on overwhelming numbers, began to realize that they were losing control. Every time they tried to overwhelm a human defense, they were met with unexpected resistance. Their own tactics turned against them. Human forces used the terrain, the planet's atmosphere, and even the predator's own technology to their advantage. Each human victory, no matter how small, chipped away at the predator's confidence. Then came the decisive moment. A coordinated global effort, involving military forces from every continent, converged on a central predator fleet that was poised to deal the final blow. Human forces, using cloaked drones and advanced hacking techniques, managed to disable the fleet's main control systems. What followed was a chaotic, one-sided battle where human forces outmaneuvered and outgunned the now vulnerable predator ships. One by one, the predator vessels fell, their command structure collapsing as the humans pressed their advantage. For the predators, this was an unthinkable defeat. Their fleet, the most powerful armada the galaxy had ever seen, was now in ruins. Their commanders, who had never known fear, were now overwhelmed with it. They had never faced a species that could turn defeat into victory so swiftly, and their empire, once built on fear, was crumbling. The predators had relied on the galaxy's fear for far too long, and now, that fear had been broken. The aftermath of the battle wasn't just a victory for Earth. It was a turning point for the entire galaxy. As news of the predators' defeat spread, species that had been living under their oppression for centuries began to rise up. Inspired by humanity's triumph, rebellion sparked across the galaxy. The predators, now weakened and disorganized, found themselves unable to maintain control. Their empire, which had once seemed indomitable, was now on the verge of collapse. Humanity didn't stop with just defeating the predators. Rather than seek domination or revenge, they extended a hand of diplomacy to the other species of the galaxy. The message was clear: humanity had no intention of ruling through fear or conquest. Instead, they offered cooperation and unity. They knew that strength wasn't about brute force, but about resilience, innovation, and the ability to inspire others. The galaxy, once ruled by fear, now had a new path forward. Human leaders worked quickly to establish new alliances, offering technology, resources, and even protection to those who had been subjugated by the predators. The message was one of hope, not control. Humanity had redefined what it meant to be powerful, and the galaxy was ready for change. The predators, now stripped of their dominance, could no longer dictate the galaxy's future. Their reign of terror had ended, and in its place, a new era began, one built on unity and shared strength. As Earth rebuilt and the galaxy began to heal, humanity found itself in a new role. They were no longer the underdogs or the isolated species on the edge of the galaxy. They were now a symbol of what could be achieved when resilience, innovation, and cooperation were prioritized over fear and domination. Humanity's message to the galaxy was simple. They had faced the greatest threat in the known universe and had not only survived but thrived. Their role as a new power in the galaxy was cemented, not by conquest, but by their example. The predators, though defeated, would remain a part of galactic history. But their legacy would no longer be one of terror and conquest. It would be a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most powerful can fall when they underestimate those they seek to oppress. Humanity had proven that strength wasn't about fear or firepower, it was about unity, adaptability, and the will to overcome any challenge. And with that, the galaxy looked to the future. A future shaped not by the predators, but by those who had the courage to stand against them. Humanity, once seen as insignificant, had become the force that redefined the galactic order. Their story was just beginning.